Okay, so this will be like another part of this video so that I'm not making the videos too long. The next part, so that was basically everything that led up to going to the hospital. So this will be the actual hospital experience. The first thing that happened was they took me into a little room and they took my purse and they took out all of my personal belongings. So you don't get to keep any personal belongings on yourself. They took away my purse, which had my wallet, my cell phone, and just basically, yeah, all my personal belongings. You know, the only thing you can have is your clothes on your back, and you can't even have your shoelaces in your shoes. They take away your shoelaces. So they took away all my personal belongings, and they took away my shoelaces and my belt, if I was wearing a belt, I don't remember. But yeah, so they take away any kind of like string, because I feel people are gonna like hurt themselves with the string, like hang themselves or something. So they take away all that, and so then they, you know, ushered me back out into the lobby, and then I was sitting on a bench next to this one girl, and you know, she seemed, you know, very approachable to me, like someone that I could relate to, because she was really depressed looking and, you know, low self-worth and all this stuff. So like, so what are you in here for? Kind of like if you go to prison or something, and like, so what are you in for? And she was like, well, I told my boyfriend I was going to kill myself, and so he got me put in here. And so we kind of hit it off as like, you know, someone, I don't know, we kind of hit it off because we were both like not having a very good time, I guess, in life. So I wanted to room with her. Like, I was like, oh, because, you know, I guess I knew that we were going to have roommates or something, or later I found out, and then I was like, man, I wish I could have roomed with her. Instead, they put me in a room with another woman, and she was in her bed, and she stayed in her bed for a long time. I stayed in my bed for a long time. And she was an older woman, probably in her 40s. I was 24. Yeah, I was 24 when I went to the hospital. All I remember for the first day was that I stayed in my bed and I stayed in my room, and I didn't go to any of the like groups or whatever. And because I was still having psychosis, like really bad psychosis, which I don't know how they couldn't tell. And this wasn't my first psychotic episode, by the way. You know, I'll just go ahead and say that. I had had other psychotic things happening for, you know, at least a year or two before that. I couldn't go to any of the groups because I was still like delusionally scared. I thought I was dying. Like in the second hospital, I thought they were trying to kill me, but in this first hospital, I just thought that I was dying, or that I was already dead. You know, that was a few other things that was running through my head, was that I had died, and this is where I was. So anyways, I couldn't go to the groups because I think they thought I was just stubborn, you know, like didn't want to be there and stubborn. But no, I'm the type of person who like likes going to classes, and I like going to therapy when I'm sane, you know. But the reason I couldn't go to these groups wasn't because I didn't want to or I was being rebellious. It was because I wasn't mentally functioning. I didn't know where to go because I couldn't understand what they were saying. I couldn't logically piece together what they were saying to me because everything they said was part of a delusion. And I also couldn't read anything logically. When I would try and read something, none of the words made sense in my brain. So I would just kind of like stare at the piece of paper. They would be like, so these are the groups you can go to, and here's a little board that says the little groups that you can go to and what time they're at. And I don't know if they just thought I was stupid or just too depressed to go to groups. And another one of my excuses was that I was too anxious. You know, I didn't know what was wrong with me. What they prescribed me while I was in the hospital, because they try and get you on a medication when you're in there to help you, and they put me on a antidepressant called Celexa, and an anti-anxiety medication called Vistaril, and a sleeping pill called Trazodone, and that I would have to take every night. So I guess during the day I would take this Celexa, or like in the morning I took the Celexa and Vistaril or whatever. So when I did venture out of my room to attempt to go to the groups, and by the way, the groups were in like several different rooms, and there was a sheet of paper telling us like where to go and all this stuff, and there were like actual directions telling us where to go and all this stuff, but I was not lucid, so I could not understand any of the paper. So basically And I was in the ward. It wasn't a ward or hospital section with other people with bipolar disorder or schizophrenia or anything like that. It was in a section with people who had depression and homicidal thoughts. So suicidal and homicidal thoughts, they put those two together. Don't agree with that at all. The woman I was in the room with, she was homicidal. And yeah. Ugh. And like even in the group therapy, the therapy was directed at people who were homicidal. So that was really creepy. But anyways, so yeah, I was in there with drug rehab people and depressed, suicidal and homicidal. And then just generally mentally unstable. So I was in a hospital area with people who, to my knowledge, didn't have bipolar or schizophrenia or psychosis or anything like that. They weren't having psychosis. So yeah, so definitely the first hospital I went to, I didn't really relate to anyone on that level. The second hospital I went to, I was like, I didn't realize it at the time, but like looking back, I was like, those were like my homies, because I was with a lot of other bipolar people and schizophrenic people too, I think. Eventually, I was able to kind of figure out things, figure out where to go, and they would also force you to eat. They didn't like force me to eat, they didn't like force feed it, but they would like make sure you ate. And I was not able to go to the mess hall or cafeteria or whatever, so they had to bring me my food. So anyways, I couldn't go to the cafeteria with everyone else, so I would sit in a little group therapy room, the only one that I ever went to, and they would give me, they would bring the food there and watch me make sure I ate it. So basically there were just, there were just staff members like with their little clipboards, making, like noting when you came to the room, and if you participated, and if you, made sure you were eating, and all your ducks were in a row. So eventually I would go to the groups, and it was basically like there would be, some sort of counselor or something leading the discussion, or sometimes it was just a staff member leading the discussion. They would just, have a topic, and then people would go around the room, or they would ask a question, and people would go around the room having to answer it. And all of my answers were very weird. Okay, so my boyfriend's going to be here soon, so I kind of have to wrap it up, and I just got something in my eye, which is awesome. Anyways, so group therapy, blah, 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 blah. And then I remember there was a few guys, there were 3 guys who, I guess, hit on me or whatever. They just talked to me. And one of them was like, talking to me about movies and college and all this stuff. He was really nice. There was this other guy who was also, I could tell, was like into me or whatever. But he got like really offended by me. Like, he obviously had some like wasn't able to talk to women issues, didn't know much about women or girls, or yeah, he didn't know much about women, so he just got insulted by me instantly. So then that guy left, and so people were like cycling in and out of this place. There was another guy who seemed to be like, much older than me and had kids and was married and stuff like that, but it seemed like he like had some sort of, compassion towards me for the situation I was in. He could tell he could tell I wasn't having the best time there, and was very confused. And like, I think that's why a lot of people approached me, because they were like, "This is your first time, isn't it?" I was like, "Yeah, it's my first time. Never been in this situation before." I guess they could tell it was my first time there because I had no fucking idea what to do or what I was doing. And a lot of them were like repeats. They had been to the hospital multiple times. Pretty sure all of them had, definitely all the guys who approached me had been in the hospital before. Then, so that guy, he was just very compassionate towards me, and he was like, "You should smile, so they'll let you out sooner if you smile." And I don't know if it was just some sort of like sexist thing telling me to smile, because guys tell girls to smile because they feel like they should look a certain way or whatever. But anyways, so he told me to smile. My interpretation of it was that if I smiled, I would get out sooner, because the reason I was in there was because I thought I was depressed and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, I just have to smile, so it makes it appear that the antidepressants are working, and then they'll let me go. Obviously I didn't want to be there. I don't like being in situations with strangers, and obviously, they took away all of my stuff, and why would I want to be there? So obviously I wanted to leave. And so I would, try and smile and pretend like I was into it. And luckily, the next day, I got to go home. So that's pretty much it. There were a few guys there that helped me out. And then, yeah, so then they let me go and my parents came and picked me up and that was pretty much it. Oh, and also the whole time I was there, I wore pajamas and really scantily clad tops. So that's some things that I remember. I might touch on this more since I think people are really interested in it, and it also is really interesting because a lot of people don't experience going to a mental hospital or a psychiatric hospital, and they also don't experience what it's like to have lost touch with reality. So yeah, and I think it's cool to spread awareness for these things and to know that I'm just a normal person who happened to have some sort of brain that just did weird things for a little while. So thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe. I make all types of videos. And check out my links below. I have a new P.O. box I just opened, so feel free to send me letters. I'm still working on replying to some old letters, but I left all of my letters at my old apartment. I'm still in the process of moving out of my old apartment, so I left all of my mail there. So if I haven't responded, I'm really sorry. But also I couldn't respond until I had a new P.O. box anyway. So anyways, I used to have a forum. It's called mentalforum.net. I talked about it in some of my older videos. But I've had to close that down because of spam. And the person who was hosting it or whatever, he kind of got busy with other things, kind of dipped out, which I understand because he wasn't getting paid for it or anything. It was like a pro bono favor for me to host that forum. Anyways, I can't have that up anymore. I'm really sorry. I don't have the capacity to run a forum right now. But the person who was the moderator of the forum, he started a chat room, so if you guys want to go there and chat, have people to talk to about any of your problems, there is a chat room, and hopefully you guys will go there and support each other, and he will be there too. So I'll put a link to the chat room and put it right here. So yeah, and I will talk to you guys later. Alright, bye. Please stay tuned for part 2 where I talk about the second hospital experience, and leave any questions you have about this video below. Okay, bye. This is going to be my entire story of my psychiatric hospital visits because people are really interested in this to know, because not everyone experiences this, so I think people are really intrigued by it.